The morning sunlight poured through the wide train windows like warm gold, painting every seat with a quiet glow that made the ordinary journey feel strangely unforgettable. I had boarded the train expecting nothing more than another routine ride across the countryside before an important meeting that could change my career forever. Instead, before the first hour had passed, a single unexpected moment turned an ordinary day into the story that would forever redefine my understanding of trust, loneliness, and the quiet miracles hidden inside human hearts. She slowly leaned against my shoulder as if sleep had stolen every ounce of strength from her body. Every passenger around us smiled gently, assuming she was simply exhausted after a long morning. But just as I began wondering whether I should wake her before her station arrived, I felt the faintest movement near my ear. In a whisper so soft it almost disappeared beneath the sound of the train tracks, she breathed the words that sent a chill through my entire body. I wasn't really sleeping. Before we continue, if you believe kindness and second chances can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, comment with a red heart, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Heart of Hope for more emotional stories that remind us humanity is still alive in this world. My name is Rowan Hale, a 32-year-old landscape designer who had spent years building beautiful parks while quietly allowing my own life to become empty. After losing both my parents within 3 years and watching the woman I planned to marry leave because she said I had forgotten how to smile, I buried myself inside work. That bright Tuesday morning was supposed to be another ordinary business trip through rolling green hills and sleepy towns. Children waved from tiny stations as the train passed. Farmers worked beneath endless blue skies. Everything outside looked peaceful, while inside me there was only silence. At the second station, she entered carrying a faded blue backpack and a small paper bag that looked almost weightless. She seemed no older than 28, wearing a simple cream-colored sweater with tired eyes that looked as though they hadn't known real rest in weeks. There were plenty of empty seats, yet she quietly chose the one beside me. She thanked me with a polite smile before staring out the window. For nearly 20 minutes neither of us spoke. She simply watched the passing fields while occasionally glancing toward the next carriage as if checking whether someone had followed her. Gradually her shoulders relaxed. The gentle rhythm of the train seemed to calm her breathing. Then, without warning, her head slowly rested against my shoulder. I froze. Every instinct told me to move away politely, yet something about the sadness on her face stopped me. She looked less like someone invading my personal space and more like someone who had been carrying an invisible burden for far too long. I remained perfectly still, allowing her to rest while pretending to continue reading the notebook in my lap. Several minutes passed before I heard that unexpected whisper. She confessed she had never fallen asleep at all. She had only needed everyone else to believe she had. She quietly explained that a man several rows behind us had been following her since early morning. He had appeared at 2 different stations before boarding the same train, never speaking, never touching her, only watching. She wasn't certain whether her fear was justified, but instinct kept warning her not to be alone. Pretending to sleep on a stranger's shoulder had seemed like the safest way to make herself appear protected without causing a public scene. I resisted the urge to look behind us immediately. Instead, I calmly asked simple questions while keeping my eyes forward. She introduced herself as Mira Solin, a freelance illustrator traveling to deliver artwork for a children's charity exhibition. She admitted she had almost gotten off at the previous station because of growing fear, but missing the exhibition meant disappointing dozens of children waiting to see the paintings inspired by their own stories. Her voice remained steady, yet I could hear exhaustion hiding beneath every word. For the next hour we quietly planned what to do without drawing attention. Whenever the train stopped, I casually stepped onto the platform beside her before boarding together again. The man remained several carriages away but never disappeared completely. Perhaps he meant no harm. Perhaps everything was only a misunderstanding. Yet fear has its own language, and I could not ignore what I saw in Myra's eyes. As the journey continued beneath bright afternoon sunshine, something unexpected happened. The fear that had first connected us slowly transformed into conversation. She shared how she had lost her younger sister to illness years earlier and had dedicated her illustrations to bringing comfort to children facing long hospital stays. Every drawing carried a hidden message of courage because she believed stories could become invisible medicine. Listening to her reminded me why I had once chosen landscape design. I had wanted parks where children could laugh, families could heal, and lonely people could breathe again. Somewhere along the years I had forgotten that purpose beneath deadlines and contracts. Eventually we reached a larger station crowded with travelers, families, and office workers. The mysterious man stepped off as well. My heartbeat quickened. Without creating panic, we walked toward the station security office together. As soon as uniformed staff appeared, the man suddenly changed direction and disappeared into the crowd before anyone could question him. Security reviewed the situation, took our statements, and assured Mira they would monitor surveillance footage. Whether he had truly intended harm or whether coincidence had amplified fear, we never discovered. But one truth remained certain. She had not faced that frightening journey alone. Relief settled over us like fresh air after a storm. With several hours remaining before her exhibition, I offered to accompany her there since my meeting had been delayed unexpectedly. She hesitated only briefly before accepting. Together we walked beneath tree-lined streets glowing beneath the afternoon sun. It felt strangely natural, as though two strangers had unknowingly been walking toward the same destination long before meeting on that train. The exhibition took place inside a renovated community library filled with laughter and colorful paintings created alongside children recovering from illness. Every illustration carried hope disguised as imagination. Dragons protected frightened hearts. Tiny birds carried dreams across dark skies. Broken stars stitched themselves back together. Parents quietly wiped away tears while children smiled proudly beside the artwork. Watching Mira interact with every child revealed a completely different person from the frightened traveler on the train. Here she radiated warmth strong enough to brighten the entire room. One little boy in a wheelchair approached carrying a folded drawing. He shyly handed it to Mira before hugging her tightly. Inside was a picture of a girl resting peacefully on someone's shoulder while sunlight filled a train window. Above the drawing were handwritten words thanking her for teaching him that brave people sometimes look scared, and kind people often appear exactly when they are needed most. Neither of us had told anyone about our morning journey. Yet somehow the image felt as though life itself had painted our story before we fully understood it. That evening my postponed business meeting finally took place. Instead of focusing only on profit, I proposed redesigning abandoned public spaces into healing gardens connected to children's hospitals and rehabilitation centers. For the first time in years I spoke with genuine passion rather than rehearsed professionalism. Weeks later the proposal received approval, beginning the largest community project of my career. Had I never boarded that train, I might have continued designing beautiful places without remembering why beauty mattered. Mira and I stayed in touch through occasional messages, then phone calls, then shared volunteer projects. Months passed before we realized our friendship had quietly become something far deeper. Neither of us rushed to give it a name. We simply kept choosing kindness, honesty, and patience every single day. The fear that introduced us slowly became nothing more than the first page of a much larger story. A year later we returned to the very same train route on another bright morning. The countryside looked just as beautiful as before. The sunlight poured through the windows in exactly the same way. This time, however, neither of us carried invisible burdens alone. As she gently rested her head against my shoulder once more, there was no fear hiding behind the moment. Only peace. She smiled without whispering because there was no longer anything left to hide. Some journeys begin with uncertainty, yet end by giving us the family we never expected to find. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to Heart of Hope so we can continue sharing stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Rose special request, before the ending, please comment just one word, hope, if you believe one act of kindness can completely change someone's life. Looking back now, I no longer remember the fear as the strongest part of that day. What stayed with me forever was the courage of a stranger who trusted someone she had never met, and the reminder that the smallest decision to help another human being can quietly reshape two lives forever. Sometimes miracles do not arrive with loud celebrations or impossible signs. Sometimes they arrive on an ordinary daytime train, beneath warm sunlight, disguised as a tired traveler resting on your shoulder. And sometimes, the greatest love stories begin with a whisper that almost no one else hears.